Yesterday saw the fourth criminal indictment for Donald Trump, this one out of Georgia, involving, again, the actions he took, claiming that the 2020 election was fraud, and those criminal actions he took in pursuit of changing the outcome of the election. What's next? Now, the Arizona Attorney General is evidently investigating actions that were taken in her state that were very similar to what happened in Georgia. My name is Dina Sayegh Doll from the MeidasTouch network. Let's break this down. Now, Attorney General Kris Mayes was elected in 2022. She's a Democrat. She is pursuing a very similar investigation that what Fani Willis did out of Georgia. Now, interestingly, the indictment out of Georgia includes actions that Donald Trump and some of his co-conspirators, actually 5 total, including Donald Trump, evidently took actions in Arizona and are part of that criminal indictment because of the fact that they were charged under the RICO statute. It gave Fani Willis the jurisdiction to pursue those actions that he undertook in Arizona as well. Now, you might wonder, does this mean that the Arizona Attorney General can't also pursue those actions? Is there some sort of double jeopardy involved? 2019, the Supreme Court clarified its position on double jeopardy and said that different sovereigns are able to pursue violations of their law, even if the conduct maybe is the same, which means that, yes, there is some overlap in Jack Smith's January 6th indictment, the Georgia indictment, and the Arizona indictment, if that were to come. There is overlap because there are these fake electors, and it all kind of became a part of this scheme to overturn the election. But because of that opinion, it is very clear that double jeopardy, that Donald Trump cannot claim double jeopardy because he has broken federal law with Jack Smith's, the Georgia law, and the Georgia indictment, and Arizona law if they bring that indictment, even if the underlying conduct is all the same. So there goes that one possible defense that Donald Trump might say. Now, the Georgia indictment was revealing. It laid out quite a bit that will make it, I think, very hard for the Attorney General not to pursue her own claims, because Fani Willis just laid out quite a bit of facts of how they broke the law in Arizona. Now, she is investigating this, and let's kind of break down a little bit more of what the Georgia indictment says. This will give us a clue as to what she will indict him for in Arizona. Arizona also has the additional fact of Trump allies having hired a company to conduct the only private audit in America, a hand recount trying to overturn the election. The actions of that company also seems to have broken the law, and there is a push there to investigate them as well. So we may not only see indictments relating kind of closely to the fake electors and the pushing of the candidates, but under that hand recount and how that was handled as well. So let's go into a little bit more about what that indictment specifically says about Arizona, what we may see from the Arizona Attorney General in her own indictment, if she does indeed bring charges, which I say, like, I can likely see that happening. So there were 5 people under, and again, you know, the indictment that the Arizona Attorney General may bring is not limited, of course, to what Fani Willis is claiming. There may be additional facts that are only Arizonans know about, and so this may be incomplete. This is maybe just the base of what we may see. But out of that indictment, there is Trump, and then there's Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, Steve Chesebro, and John Eastman, all actively pushing election fraud claims in Arizona. And it came about 3 weeks after the election ended, when Trump and Giuliani called then Arizona House Speaker Rusty Bowers. Now, Rusty Bowers, is a Republican. Again, he's one of the Republicans who really ended up stopping the overturning of the election. We know the Governor Kemp. We know Governor Ducey. And here again, another Republican, Rusty Bowers, them coming to him thinking that maybe he was going to play ball being a Republican, and he didn't. They made false statements to him, according to the indictment, in an effort to persuade him to appoint a new slate of electors. Again, another slate of faked electors in Arizona, trying to create confusion, either having Pence just certify those fake electors, or at least buying time. That's what really the Trump team was trying to do. So the indictment cites 4 different situations where Trump and his allies reached out to Bowers about these fake electors. And a Republican, Bowers has testified already that he was unwilling to break his oath of office. Again, a Republican here stopping this Trump MAGA push to overturn the election. He said that none of them had any evidence of fraud. So according to the indictment, members of the enterprise corruptly solicited Georgia legislatures to unlawfully appoint their own presidential electors for the purpose of casting electoral votes for Donald Trump. They also made false statements to state legislatures during hearings and meetings in Arizona, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. We know that the Michigan Attorney General has pursued charges against the fake electors. Again, this is why we are likely to see some sort of charges coming out of Arizona as well. This giving us into a glimpse of what we see. Now, Giuliani and Ellis evidently met with Arizona legislatures at a hotel in downtown Phoenix on November 30th, 2020, where they, quote, solicited, requested, and importuned, quote, them to appoint these fake electors. The next day, they met with Bowers and then Senate President Karen Fawn and other Republican lawmakers to try to convince them to hold a special session of the legislature for the purpose of overturning and replacing Arizona's fairly elected electors. And 9 days later, on December 12th, Chesterbrough emailed documents to Arizona Republican Party Executive Director Greg Safston, detailing a way to end run the legislature and go forward with this alternative fake electors. Quote, the documents were to be used by Trump presidential nominees in Arizona for the purpose of casting electoral votes for Donald John Trump. And again, this fake elector scheme, which was the brainchild of Eastman, wanted to create some sort of confusion or justification to allow Pence to either not certify the valid electors, somehow buy them time, make people have to go to court and buy them time. The indictment also says that Eastman on January 4th, 2021, called Bowers again and urged him, or tried to kind of pushed him to appoint the presidential electors. Again, there's just a handful of Republican candidates who were kind of like the line, the border between our democracy and all out fascism. These Republicans who were willing to stand against Trump and his co-conspirators and not deny the valid election. So the Attorney General has not issued a statement yet. She's staying quiet on this. It's interesting. She is, of course, a female. She is the first mom and only the second woman to ever be elected to the Arizona Attorney General position. And as a female, I think it's kind of poetic that so many women are being involved here in holding Trump accountable. I mean, not only the 2 female judges, but Fani Willis out of Georgia, this Attorney General in Arizona, because although Trump has insults everybody and is really awful the way he treats them. I think he holds a special disgust for women even before he became president, and how he talked about them. Certainly how he acts with them is with the Access Hollywood tapes. And so to have so many women be the ones holding him accountable is, I think, some sort of poetic justice. Again, only the second woman ever to hold that position, a Democrat. And the thing is about Arizona is not only is it a swing state, but, I basically grew up in Arizona and know it well. And there's a reason why Arizona elected John McCain years after years after years. There is certainly this independent, Wild West streak in Arizona where they proudly want to kind of make their own decisions and feel like they have their own opinion. And we saw the backfire essentially politically of Trump and his allies trying to overturn the election. The current governor used to be the Secretary of State, and she was the one who oversaw the 2020 election. And as tight as that election was, remember, it was much tighter than it was in Georgia, she was able to oversee it during the time that she was being, viciously attacked by the Republicans. And it is her that was elected by the people to become governor over Kari Lake, who was spouting the fact that the Arizona election was a sham. So Arizona voters resoundingly rejected the idea that their votes didn't validly elect Biden. I don't think Arizona and Arizonans are the kind of people who want to be told that their votes don't count. And that private audit, I think, was a major political backfire for Arizona, because the idea that the government handed over to this private company, the company, again, was called Cyber Ninja Company. The fact that they handed that over into some private facility, I think, outraged a lot of Arizonans, because people there don't like the idea of something that is essential to them being kind of manipulated by. And I think that was a major political backfire, which we saw by the governor now being a Democrat. And so let's talk a little bit about that audit, because the former Maricopa County attorney, Rick Romley, a Republican, is calling for a separate investigation into this Cyber Ninja's CEO, Doug Logan, for potential criminal charges. So that could be, again, a dual indictment with the private audit, which I think is actually just as awful for our democracy even as what Trump did, because they're handing over without any kind of government oversight to this private company. I think Arizona is actually lucky it didn't end worse there. But he defied court orders to turn over thousands of communications related to the ballot review. And so he is not only in contempt of court, but he may have violated an Arizona state law that makes withholding public records a Class 6 felony. So watch also for a pursuit of charges against that, and to hopefully stop this idea of these private audits. I mean, we have our next presidential election coming up, right, in 2024. Will we see more of these private audits in Republican-controlled states? And what is that going to end up looking like for our democracy? Arizona is in a unique opportunity to pursue criminal charges against the actions of that private company now, to deter them or companies like them from flouting laws when handling our most sacrosanct democratic right, our literal ballots. So let's keep an eye out on what Chris Mays here is willing to do in Arizona.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.